This is All Things Fitness and Wellness, uniting industry thought leaders and fitfluencers on the mission to inspire innovation and encourage people to live a life fit and well. Brought to you by the British Columbia Personal Training Institute. Learn how to train, gain, and retain clients. Visit bcpti.ca. The U.S. Surgeon General officially declared loneliness an epidemic this year. Some estimates say that loneliness is a greater risk factor for mortality than obesity and is comparable to the risk of smoking. In this episode, we welcome Maryam, the founder of VanCity Girls Who Walk. Maryam has had a highly successful career developing wellness solutions through technology. However, she's the first to say that the use of technology has added to our sense of social isolation. On the podcast, Maryam will share her personal story of immigrating to Canada from Iran at the age of 10, founding a company at the age of 21, and the why behind starting an initiative in her community that fosters social connection and encourages gentle movement. Before we get to it, be sure to hit like and subscribe. We have new podcast episodes weekly featuring industry thought leaders and influencers. Plus, we're continuing our gym and wellness haven tours. Be sure to let us know in the comments where we should travel to next. I'm your host, Chrissy Van, and this is ATFW. Well, Maryam, I am so pleased to have you because we were just sitting here discussing the fact that we are facing a loneliness epidemic, and it's not even just something we're verbalizing and speaking about because we think it's occurring. It's something that is proven. We saw the U.S. Surgeon General earlier in May declare it an epidemic. We were chatting as well initiatives in the UK where they actually have a minister of loneliness, and you are making tremendous waves in the city of Vancouver with the launch of VanCity Girls Who Walk. So thank you so much for carving out some time.
No problem. It's my pleasure.
Talk to me a little bit about what the initiative is, and then we're going to dive into your background of how this all began.
Well, VanCity Girls is essentially a low-cost, low-effort, low-pressure way to bring people together in a way to encourage gentle movement, getting outside, enjoying nature, and really connecting with new people. Vancouver seems to get a notoriously bad rap for being not friendly, especially for newcomers, people who may be new to the city, they just moved here. But even overall, you hear so many people talk about, I don't know how to make friends as an adult. Vancouver isn't friendly, or here people don't really interact like when they're just, running into each other. So anyways, it was all meant to kind of do a lot of things all at once, but making it easy for both myself and for the people who wanted to come to the walks.
Well, the thing that's been so impressive, I followed you. I mean, you've done an amazing social marketing campaign, and I saw it growing so quickly. But it's one thing to grow in the social space online, but it has translated to your group getting bigger and bigger, which is a tremendous kudos to you and what you're creating, because obviously that word of mouth component is growing. But I want to know more about you, and I'm sure so many people that are coming out do as well. And I started to dig a little bit and then realized your connection to health and wellness is something that's been a theme through your career. So take me back to where this all began and why you started to niche in that direction.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? The walks have been such a pleasant surprise because the first week I sort of put it on, I was a little bit like, I sat on the bench and didn't realize like maybe no one would show up. And then someone came up and it's like, I'm here for the walk. And I was like, you are? And it's still like, it was still surprising for me, right? But anyways, it's been an amazing sort of response from the community, which speaks to why we need it and the fact that it's actually something that people are finding really useful and helpful for them. I've always worked in healthcare. I've always had one foot in healthcare since I became a professional or an adult. At the age of 21, I got involved in founding an e-commerce company that focused on dermatology and skincare. And right off the bat, our audience were women. And this was early 2000s. We were definitely an early mover in the space. And at some point where the company was the third largest e-commerce company in the personal care category.
Incredible.
Which was an early success. I was only 21, and obviously that brought a lot of pressure, a lot of stress, but it was also really fulfilling career-wise. And then from there, building out brick and mortars, working in the clinical space, setting up clinics and practices. And that really opened my eyes to the importance of overall health and what it means, not really just aesthetically, but what it means to us overall and our quality of life. And so from there, I graduated. I wanted to explore, challenge myself a little bit more. I went into advocacy and public relations, did a lot of work for nonprofits, educational partners, good causes, and really figured out, where's the balance between bringing people's efforts when they're trying to do something good and impactful. How do you get them in front of the right audiences? And how do you make sure that the people who need to see it actually do? And so at some point, my worlds just diverged, and I ended up setting up a holistic clinic with a doctor. And then from there, I worked on a biopharmaceutical sort of startup, building novel molecules for mental health purposes. And then from there, I landed at a couple of companies which wanted some leadership when it came to mental health and overall health. And today, I'm CEO of PanGenomic Health, which does a lot of good work in the consumer app sort of space. We have 2 consumer apps. We do DNA and genomic reports as well as point of care diagnostics for mental health.
Those sectors are growing massively. So talk to me a little bit about that space and the momentum that you're seeing, because I feel like elements like that before perhaps it was 1 degree unattainable for a lot of people. There was a lot of expense there. And then more and more, it's becoming something accessible to the everyday person to enhance their overall well-being.
Yes, I mean, I think from a user standpoint, there's way more users out there that are really health-oriented. It can't be lost on us that these are all tools that can have mass benefit to a large number of people. But the barrier really is cost. And so how do we create products and services through the use of technology to make them more accessible? And that's really, I think, one of the sort of motivations I have is like, how can we deliver better care, improve people's lives, but not make it costly?
And I understand as you're speaking to the health and wellness journey you've taken, mental health has been a big root that sounds like it's kind of anchored you throughout. So what was your connection to that cause? Was there something you were noticing? Was it something within your own life? Why did that become a bit of a passionate niche for you?
Yeah, I mean, I've struggled with my mental health for sure. I was a refugee from Iran, and I've had some interesting experiences as a child and moving through different countries. I came to Canada when I was 10 years old and had to start life again from zero with my family. Didn't have a lot of family around other than my immediate family. And so really going through those early years, really unsettled in an unstable environment, seeing war and massive migration happen really shaped who I am now. But it took many years for me to really reconcile those experiences and sort of the outcomes that came from it, because life coming to Canada isn't, the happily ever after doesn't happen as soon as you arrive. There's a lot of difficulties in sort of reconciling your past with your future and not taking it for granted. I always talk about immigration shame because we don't really talk about it. And that's a sense of like when you come here and you're faced with all these challenges like racism and stigma and disadvantage financially and professionally from, say, my parents' standpoint, you just can't communicate discontent, and you can't say, oh, it's hard, because you should just be lucky you're here. And so immigration shame has really always kind of been at the forefront of like how I've come to understand like what my experiences have meant to me and how they've shaped me. And I think with my mental health journey about 4 or 5 years ago, I really wanted to really do something about it. I didn't want to be identified to the experiences that I had. And so that really led me down to exploring different pathways for how to deal with PTSD, how to take control of your life, how to really put into practice habits and tools that are going to help you stay healthy mentally and spiritually and physically, because you could do all those things with some very simple tactics.
I find it so powerful what you're sharing, because for yourself, in a lot of capacities, you didn't really get to be a kid when you're thrust into that type of life. And then to take those experiences, and obviously now your gumption and ambition makes a lot of sense to me right out of the gate, because that's a lot of fuel, right? And I'm sure it's just been incredible for your family to see you flourish. And from such a young age, massive kudos, because that is not easy to do. And obviously it's something that you've just continued to ride this inertia. When you speak to some of those tools, I know that you do some psychedelic advocacy. So would that be kind of the realm you're speaking to?
Yeah, and so in the biopharma space that I was sort of working in for a little while, I really delved into the psychedelic space. Part of it was really because the studies show its huge impact on actually resolving really deep-seated PTSD, dealing with drug-resistant mood disorders, which, doctors haven't been able to fully address. They've run out of tools as well. We haven't had any major innovation in the mental health pharmaceutical space in over 30 years. It's really time to really look at that seriously. And as we see the pandemic sort of unfold, and now in its aftermath, the rates of mental health disorders and all of the ramifications of that are still high. And this is where we're at right now. This is our epidemic, and we have to do something about it. And I think I've always wanted to be at the forefront of new possibilities, and psychedelics really are. I'm not at all a poster child for psychedelics, because in some ways I came from a conventional health background, and this was all a new space for me, for sure. But I really opened my mind up to exploring what it could do. And since then, all the research, all the sort of the work that I've done has proven to me that this is a space that's ripe for innovation. And I can't wait till the day that we can actually deliver these therapies to the mass population that needs it.
Well, and that momentum's happening in a huge way. It's a space that fascinates me endlessly as well, especially as all the studies becoming available, because the science was just on pause for so long. And unfortunately, I mean, we could have a whole other conversation of why that is. But it's like we're coming around the bend, and then there's people like yourself that have this incredible knowledge base. And so the credibility factor behind it is really helping this conversation be something that we can bring to the forefront. On top of, though, when we are thinking of mental health, we know that our social lives are a massive component of that. And through no fault of our own as human beings, there was that chunk of time we know where we were isolated and we were separated, and we're coming out of this on the other side and still facing the ramifications of that. I know some people, through those periods of isolation, it quite disrupted that comfort level over being social again, and this anxiety. And then when I think of VanCity Girls Who Walk, the fact that you moved here when you did, and especially at that age, 10 years old, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough age no matter what your background was. Never mind thinking of, I can't imagine the culture shock of what you experienced to coming here. Tell me about the bridge and the influence there for wanting to start this, because to me it sounds like this incredibly welcoming helping hand to those that are struggling with that loneliness.
It honestly is. And just I think one of the motivations I get is just hearing firsthand how the walks are actually helping people, and where they're coming from and what state they're coming from when they come to a walk. So I always encourage everyone to be very gentle with people, because some people literally are just going through a divorce, or they haven't left their house in weeks, or they haven't met anyone new in a couple of years because they've been working from home. So we're all at different places in our lives. And so the walks really, it's supposed to be inclusive and really meet people where they're at. I was once a newcomer to Canada and really struggled with fitting in. And obviously that's not just unique to me. It's unique. It's something that a lot of people go through. I would have loved an initiative like this back then for kids. What I think the walks offer is really, it's kind of the antidote to all this technological enhancement and acceleration of use technology to communicate, because I kind of see this as, we need to make sure there are things in place that counteract all of this push towards doing everything through technology. And I'm a big fan of technology. Like, I work in health tech. I believe we can treat more people, give more better service, access more practitioners, and deliver more therapies through technology. But it doesn't, taking the people out of the equation isn't the answer. And if anything, we need to think about creative and innovative ways to put people back into the formula. Because at the end of this, all of it is really about humans. It's about the face-to-face interactions, and we really can't lose sight of that.
Fitness World's 16 British Columbia high-value, low-cost gyms are committed to helping people reach their fitness goals, whatever those may be. Exercise and movement play a pivotal role in supporting people's overall health and wellness, and it is Fitness World's mission to provide the facilities, services, and amenities to help you achieve your fitness your way. Visit fitnessworld.ca for more information. As this has grown, what has been created with this ecosystem? Because I feel like any time that you bring people together that have a yearning for that, there's a little bit of magic that happens within it.
It is, and I think it's really because I sort of made it really low effort. So it's you don't really register, you don't pay for it, you just get yourself to the meetup point and you walk. And I think I never know who's coming, how many people are coming, and others don't know either, right? And so it's just an element of surprise every weekend, and I like it that way. I think it's there's some sort of energy that sort of starts to percolate there when we all come in, and there's a lot of unexpected that happens.
What's some of the feedback you've gotten so far?
People come to them if they're new. They're really grateful that I put the effort into this. They're just happy that there's something like this and that they're aware of it. I think there's lots of groups out there. There's definitely a lot of similar type of meetups, but I think it's just the way I think they're hearing about it and the fact that it's really, again, low effort. It's what's the catch? There isn't any catch. You're here to just walk, talk, and make friends.
And how much has it grown from that first initial one where that person's like, hey, I'm here to walk, to where you're at now?
It's only week 13, and a couple of weeks ago we hit our all-time high. We didn't actually take a full count, but it was closer, I think, to 200.
Wow.
Which, yeah, we were eyeing it, but it was a lot of people. We were, struggling to be organized because, again, we're very impromptu, but it was really nice to see. And in fact, last night we had a first evening walk just to make it more accommodate some people who can't come on Sundays. But we had a girl that came in from Austin, and she had done a similar walk group in Austin, and she's and she was in New York before too, and she was like, this is as big as the New York one. And I'm like, for a city the size of Vancouver to get a massive turnout, even above 50 or 60 repeatedly every weekend, is I feel really good about it. But again, it's a testament to the need and the fact that it's resonating with the community.
Yeah, I was going to say it really is a twofold. It speaks greatly to your efforts. I mean, none of this would be happening if you didn't decide to take action. But conversely, it speaks to that yearning and the need. And you're not wrong. As we started the conversation here, I see examples on TikTok all the time of people that basically go on a little rant about how hard it is to make connections and friends. And generally, those are the posts that are blowing up. And they're blowing up because the comments thread is, I'm feeling this too. And it's just this shared experience. And you're providing this really safe place. And you have a really big emphasis on it being inclusive as well. So speak to me about how accessible this is for people.
Yeah, I mean, our walks are all in areas where, even if you're in a wheelchair or you have mobility issues, you can definitely come to it. It's inclusive in the sense that it's for all ages, all physical states. If you identify as a girl, you come. We don't have any hard set rules. I mean, at this point, it's just like if you want to come to this walk and you feel really passionate about it, come. But I mean, the thing is, the accessibility comes also in the form that there's no cost to it.
What's your game plan to see this grow? I mean, when you look into the crystal ball, what would you like to see on the other side of it?
I would love to see more walkers. I'm gonna actually launch a challenge with the group to walk through all the rainy season ahead. So doing the walk the whole year long. So that's 365.
It's when we need it most.
365 days, even in the dark, rainy days, we're going to keep walking. I would like to get support from sponsors to just keep with the effort. There is definitely some cost to keeping it up. And we want to offer that some things to the community as a reward for being engaged, but also like bringing in people, including other people. So a lot of our regulars now are the people that start those conversations with new walkers. So keeping them, coming and involved is really a goal of mine. So.
Well, and I was at a conference in March, and I can't remember which seminar it was, but they were basically speaking to the fact that that you've built a community, right, when people want to wear your merch with pride. And I'm sure there was high demand for those in a short span of time.
These are they're really popular. I mean, I sort of did it because I wanted to make sure at least we had some people in the group that were identifiable in the walks, because we run into runners and bikelists and things like that. But a lot of people stop me like, where can I get a hoodie? But I think it's also in the name. People like VanCity Girls Who Walk.
Yeah, no, honestly, I'm like, all of it is well thought out, which kind of brings me to often in life, and I mean, you're somebody that consistently has had idea, bring it to reality, and I get a hell of a lot of hustle in between because things like that don't just happen.
Yes.
But I'm curious, from when you got this idea to reality, what was the process in between there? Talk to me a bit, because it would have been late winter by the point that you actually announced it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I walk regularly. So 4 years ago, my personal journey was like, I need to really put into practice some healthy tools. I'd never been physically active. Barely ever went to the gym. I hadn't played sports since I was in high school. I started walking every day. I was also not a morning person. So I started walking every day at like 7 a.m. And eventually after a month, my walk led me to a gym. And for 400 days, I went to the gym and walked every day. And it single-handedly changed my life. And so from there on, a lot of my social activities started being around walks and physical activity. Not strenuous physical activity, but definitely the walking and catching up with a friend. On Sundays, because I am a very busy individual, on Sundays I usually meet with several friends for like 1 hour increments, coffee, walking, catching up. And that feeds my soul. I'm sure a lot of girls do this, but it really it's the best part of my week. And so anyways, at some point I was like, why don't I just ask all my friends to meet together? We do this in one go. And I was like, okay, that's something. And then on another night of the week, I was meeting up with a group of girls and we were doing kind of a run walk club. And I was like, well, that'd be interesting. What if we invite other people? And so long story short, Sundays I turned into a public walking event. And then I was like, because I have experience in marketing, I was like, I'm just going to go on Instagram. And I'm really, really shy. So opening up a public Instagram account or profile was kind of like a challenge to myself. And anyways, I believe in the cause and the messaging. So it's made it a lot easier. And I'm slowly getting over my shyness too.
Well, and I think you speak to two things there. Anyone that's ever done creative work, there's such a vulnerability that happens. And even when you're just a tiny community to start, it's a very disconcerting or anxiety-inducing feeling at first until it's free of you and then you put it out there. But then that's where you get this incredible feedback that happens on the other side. I also absolutely love you sharing going from those walks to it then enhancing your relationship with physical activity, because that's something we speak to so much. There was a narrative for way too many years, and I mean, we grew up in it, diet culture, shredding, the language around everything. And to be honest, it made a lot of times these gym spaces or fitness spaces really intimidating for people, and it was because the message was all of that. Whereas now, we're faced not only with the mental health crisis, but a physical inactivity crisis. We know that movement does so much for our brains, our mental health. That is scientifically backed and proven. And you're just such a leading example that the leap, we always want to climb the top of the mountain out of the gate.
No.
And you're like, no.
Start with one step at a time. I'm like, literally, it's just a walk. And low cortisol inducing activity is also a really great way. I mean, walking is really underrated, but it is often the best form of exercise, and it's for any age, any category.
You're hitting all the bases: mental, social, physical. So if there is someone out there that has heard about this, or maybe there's something similar in their community, and they're getting stuck by the mental block barrier of getting out there for the first time, which is an extremely relatable feeling, what would be your overarching message to them?
I think start doing it for yourself. And if it resonates with you and you are feeling a positive impact, know that it will do the same for someone else. And I mean, it really isn't about numbers either, because you can get stuck in that too. Like, is this enough? Are there enough people liking this? But as long as you do it and you believe in it and it's helping you, it can help so many people. And you have to know that you never walk alone. You can walk with others.
And from February to now, how has it changed you? What has it done for your life seeing this come to reality?
Well, you know what? I struggle with feeling lonely too, right? And so it doesn't matter how many friends you have and, what your life looks like in terms of busyness. Sometimes the busiest people are the loneliest people because they're so used to being caught up in doing that when they have a moment, and I can speak to this personally, when they have a moment of reprieve, that's when they feel the lowest and the loneliest. And when I come to these walks, sometimes it's really hard for me too. So I'm not having a great day. I was maybe sad the day before. But I come and I get this energy and I talk to someone else and we connect over something they are sharing with me and I share with them, and I'm pretty much an open book. But there is something really, truly magical in hearing someone else's story and sharing your own. And you cannot get that through the interface of a phone. You really need to see people. And this is what it does for me. So I'm glad others find it beneficial.
Oh, it's been honestly so inspiring to watch this journey come to life, because I just believe so much in what you're doing as well. So where can people connect and find you?
Well, we have a website now, so VanCityGirlsWhoWalk.com, and on Instagram and TikTok. Mostly on Instagram, VanCity Girls Who Walk. Pretty simple. You can DM me. You can sign up for a newsletter. I just started saying we'd send out a calendar about our walks monthly. And DM me. I mean, I'm always on the other side. I answer every message. I always tell people, if you don't know anyone, come to the walk. A lot of people ask, can I come alone? And actually, that's how most people come. And I'm always like, if you feel anxious or you're shy, I'll walk with you. And so you can DM me with your questions, and I'll try to make myself as accessible as possible.
Talk about creating a safe space for people to take that first step, which, as we spoke to, that's all it takes. Step number one, and then I'm sure you just end up with so many repeat visitors. I always end every conversation. I know it puts you on the spot, but I ask for a favorite quote or a motivational nugget of wisdom. So what would be something that resonates with you that you'd like to share?
I mean, I'll go back to the basics. I mean, it's like someone said, don't walk alone. We can walk together. And I think that's the way of the future. We walk together, and our, all this talk about AI replacing everybody on the planet, it can't replace this. If we are near each other, we're physically in contact, AI can't replace that.
Oh, that's perfectly said. Thank you so much. And honestly, massive congratulations to you. I love a story that when I hear it, and I'm conversing with you, but also listening as a listener. And I know I'm getting so much from hearing you share. And it's exactly what you said, like having the courage to sit down, to be vulnerable, to talk about our stories. There's so much to be gained from that. So truly thank you. And thank you for making such a positive contribution to our community, especially in a facet that I know is so badly needed. I don't even think at this point that you probably can see or understand the ripple effect that you're creating, and what a beautiful place to be. So I really appreciate it.
Aw, it's an honor, an absolute honor. Thank you.
You've just listened to All Things Fitness and Wellness. This episode was brought to you by Fitness World. Your fitness, your way. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you never miss out on hearing from industry thought leaders and influencers. We are on a mission to help everyone live a life fit and well.